Hi, friends. I'm Sajida Amin from my YouTube channel, She Made It Happen. And I have a wonderful, outstanding, resilient lady with me. I want to introduce her because she's my teacher, she's my mentor, whatever I have equipped myself with the applied psychology. So I am really impressed by her. And I wanted to share her biography and her thoughts and her education that she is educating women and people around with my audience. My goal is to strengthen fellow women around the world. And channel is She Made It Happen. And yes, he made it happen. Let's see how. She is resilient, hardworking, determined woman. She proved it. Yes, you can. Her journey started from Eastern Europe, where she was born, and she kept it winning all the way down till now. 19 top European awards she won as a violinist. She restarted her life from scratch a couple of times. She never gave up. She slept on the floor for a while and took bathroom cleaning jobs to get by. But her dreams were always big. And yes, you can dream. She ended up equipping herself with PhD degree in alternative modes of consciousness, being excellent in classical music, then earned international recognition as master trainer and coach in NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis. And my friends, she wrote three books. One was the bestseller, Values and Evolution of Consciousness. And in 1994, she was awarded Woman of the Year by the American Biographical Institute for her achievements, her leadership qualities. And I am with her, one and only Adriana James. She is incredibly strong and positive role model for women all over the world. Hi, Adriana.
Hi, Sajida, and thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really thrilled to be here with you. I
Thank
love
you
the
so
theme of
much
your
for
channel. She made it happen. This is marvelous. I love it. It's beautiful.
thank you. Thank you, Adriana. You are so much busy and internationally you train people and you give me time. I'm overwhelmed and thank you so much sharing everything with the women around. So we will be discussing today as Adriana is the master trainer of all those studies. So we will talk about timeline therapy, how it can empower women to overcome challenges, build confidence, and achieve their goals. Building confidence and self worth by addressing negative beliefs and patterns that hold them back. So, I will ask Adriana some questions about, and we will discuss it about how the timeline therapy can help. And we will also talk about values that we will discuss how Master NLP practitioners can support women's empowerment by clarifying and aligning with their core values. So, Adriana, my first question to you today that how can we assist women in establishing healthy boundaries and communicating their needs and values affecting in relationship?
That's a fantastic question. I love it. It's just great because women around the world. I teach trainings all over the world, and I meet women from different cultures. But I notice some common patterns. Yeah, and
Mhm.
one of them is exactly what you mentioned before. It's almost like lack of strength, lack of ability to enforce what I consider for me as a woman to be my healthy boundaries. And it's true, in my humble opinion, that for a very long time, women have been generationally, this is a strong word, yeah, and I put it in quotes, indoctrinated into the belief that they are less than.
Mhm. Yes.
So, and since it's transmitted from generation to generation, it's almost as it has become ingrained. So as we grow up as little girls, and then we grow up into teenagers, and then they grow up into young adults, we believe, we have this deep core thing that we're just not enough.
Yes.
We're less than. We're kind of
You're
like
right.
necessary, but see, in my country of birth, where it was even a joke, but it wasn't really a joke. that a man is the head and but the woman is the neck. I mean, kind of like, just be happy with the second
Exactly.
position. And this is not only, I noticed that, as I said, interacting with women from all over the world, I noticed that this is a pattern. And in
Pattern.
every culture, I noticed that this pattern is existing. So then the question is, okay, good. So now we know that this is happening. What do we do? And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, the traditional, many of the, and I put in quotes, traditional approaches make women either angry because it's
Mm-hmm.
enough. At some point, it's okay, enough. I don't want to have this position anymore. It makes me feel bad about who I am, right? And then it's the reaction is massive frustration or even anger, or on the other hand, women sometimes end up in depression, none of which
Yes.
is useful or good. Because you know very well, Sajida,
Yeah.
in what I teach, the idea is only results matter.
Mm.
So, do we get results by approaching the situation this way? The answer is no. Do we get results if we go on the street and march and we go like this? No. So then what does get results? And one of the core principles of what I teach is that if we want to change communities, groups, the world of women, half of society, yeah, we need to begin one person at a time. I can't change the world around me unless I change myself. And how do I change
Exactly.
myself? Yes, so how do I do this? And you know that I taught with the creator of timeline therapy, Ted James, for years, for more than 20 years, trainings, and I can absolutely, with full confidence, say that there is no technique in the world that is similar to timeline therapy. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because timeline therapy allows women to let go. No, not change, not think of it, not let's make it better. No, let go completely of beliefs and decisions like I'm not good enough, I'm less than, I'm not capable, and emotions, negative emotions. I'm embarrassed, I feel guilty, I feel, and the major negative emotions that plague women's lives, like depression, sadness, guilt, hurt, pain, all of this stuff, which we cannot continue to carry with us if eventually we want to stand up strong, as you said, because you mentioned the word strength, which is so important. If we want to have the strength to stand over our own 2 feet and stop
Exactly.
playing the game of victim. I'm not saying that it may not be true, but it's not useful. To
Mm-hmm.
stay in that victim position doesn't help us. Then, so first of all, what can we do? Let go of this set of beliefs, discover them. First of all, what they are. Where am I feeling inferior? Where am I feeling not deserving? Where am I feeling not good enough?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I feeling less than? Let go of all that, plus all the negative emotions. So becoming conscious and aware. You know that one of the themes in my trainings is always consciousness equals awareness, meaning becoming
Mm-hmm.
conscious of what am I really feeling in this situation. Because we're trained, and we have to, in order to interact with each other, and you know this
Yes.
very well, Sajida, we put that face on that Carl Jung used to call the persona. And we play the game of
Exactly.
I'm always happy, I'm always, but deep down, are we really? And
Mm-hmm.
in many cases, the answer is probably not. So then we need to also let go of this load, the emotional load. And I'm using these words advisedly, the emotional load on our memories, on our life experiences so far, if we are to transform ourselves and change ourselves so that we do become strong, we do become powerful, we can stand over our 2 feet as independent, valuable human beings without having to go to war with the other side. Because see, again, my humble opinion, yes, the idea of now going against men and we have to put men down, it's just a tipping the balance the other way. That doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work
Yeah.
either
Agree.
way. Yeah,
Exactly.
so
I agree.
how do we create in one of the things that is also part of the master practitioner, and you will remember this, is the fact that differences don't mean opposition. The fact that men and
Hmm.
women are different, and we're different. I'm sorry to say it if you know some people disagree. Men and women are different, but that
Different. Yep.
doesn't mean that they are opposite. That doesn't mean that they have to fight with each other. That so
Hmm.
it is integration in respecting each other's independence. Um, what am I trying to say? Respecting is each other as human beings above everything else, and
Exactly.
and 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 having this work together based on everyone's capabilities. I think we need to strive for that, but in order as women to do that, we need to strengthen ourselves.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adriana. As Adriana has said, that we need to bring integration between man and woman. So we are different. Man is different physically and emotionally as well, and the woman is also, but it doesn't mean that we have to create an opposition. So timeline therapy, what Adriana has said, that it always prevails balance in the society. When we take off our burden, like the baggage, if we have in our memories, the timeline, through timeline therapy strategies, we can take care of it, and then we can build good relationships in the society with our, like, opposite, like women are 50% of the society. So if you will bring strength in this way, you are strong, then you can do miracles. So thank you so much, Adriana. That was the very, very important point, that how we can integrate and bring peace in the society through our, like, different strategies of timeline therapy, and through changing our mind by doing these techniques. So my second question is, what NLP strategies do you use to support women in recognizing and avoiding toxic relationships that undermine the values?
Oh, may I share with you how I've been led to NLP?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
this is actually a very interesting story that probably many people in your audience will relate to. So I I always like to talk to people. I love discussing and communicating, right? And I felt many times misunderstood. I felt like what I intended to say didn't come across correctly. And that made
Okay.
me feel bad. And then I would end up emotional about it, which probably elicited an even worse response. And this was way before NLP. I didn't know that NLP or timeline therapy or any of this existed, yeah? And I used to say, it's their fault.
Hmm.
They don't understand me. They don't want to accept my message. They don't want to listen to me. And one time I had a discussion with a lady that I didn't know before. And she asked me, some simple questions. I was in a mind, body, and spirit building in Australia, as there are many of these centers where people do energy work, they do
Yeah.
all sorts of yoga or hypnosis or all sorts of modalities of healing, yeah? And so
Hmm.
I was waiting there, and this lady asked me, why are you here? And so I said to her everything that was wrong in my life. Now, I didn't know
Mm.
at the time that she was already trained in NLP, so she built rapport with me, a natural way. She didn't force me. She didn't pry into my question. It wasn't nosy or anything, but it felt okay to talk to her. And I
Hmm.
told her the story that, this person's no good, and my father did this, and at work this is happening, and I feel like I'm not recognized for my hard work, and this and that and the other, okay? And my family is not supportive if I want to do this, and I kept pointing the finger. Notice that I'm doing this, pointing the finger outside of me.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a very patient lady. She listened to me for about 45 minutes complaining. And after that, she asked me one question, Sajida, one question. I didn't know it was an NLP question at the time. And she said, okay, I get what's wrong, and I even empathize and feel your pain, your hurt, your all this, because I was hurting at the time. And then she said this, she asked me this question: what would you like instead? And you know what, for the first time, I'm a talker. I like to
Wow.
talk, right? But for the first time in my life, I went and no words came out. Because I
Exactly.
realized in that very instance, my friends, I realized that I had a very hazy, foggy idea of more happiness, more
Mm-hmm.
joy, more peace. But what did that mean? I had no idea. I had no clue. And I realized that it was just a split second, one of those moments of, I'm sure you have gone through this, and many of people in your
Exactly.
audience have gone through this. It's just moment, all of a sudden, it's like something switches and
Yes.
you go, oh no, or wow, I didn't realize this is, and I realized that first of all, even if I talk a lot, it doesn't mean that I communicate correctly in such a
Mm-hmm.
way that my message is received from the other side, because I wasn't flexible. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
I am doing my best, therefore it's their fault. And then I understood from NLP that everybody is different and we need to learn to communicate in such a way that the others can receive our message, because we're not all the same. That's our beauty as human beings. That's our beauty as
Yes.
women. We're different and yes, beautiful in our own way, but not everybody is the same. So that was the first thing. And second thing, I understood that I have to get clarity in my own head as to where I am and what do I want? Where am I willing to go? And then the same lady said something to me, which I want to share with your audience. She said, you
Mm-hmm.
know what? You've been living, because I lived in many countries. At the time I was living in Australia, yeah? And
Yep.
I, I shared with her a little bit about my life experience. And she said, you can run around, you can go around, you can change countries, you can change working places, you can change a lot of things. And many times people even change relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same process, yeah? Many times people change even relationships. And she said, but and the faces of the people you are interacting with will change, because they'll be different people. However, says one person that never will change and you cannot leave behind is you. So if you
Wow.
want to have a different experience, and that was massive. Indeed, that was a wow moment. And I go, wow, she's right. So I need to change something inside me so that my experience of life, my experience of relationship, my experience of work, with my work colleagues, the place I was working in, my experience of what I call happiness, joy, peace, content can change, success in business. Yeah, all of that. I need to start here. And that led me then into
Exactly.
NLP. I learned the power of words. I learned how to use words meaningfully. I learned to be less judgmental and point fingers outside myself going, it's their fault. Because as long as I say it's their fault, what can I do to change them? Can you ever change
Hmm.
somebody else? No, you can try,
No.
but it doesn't work. But I surely
Exactly.
can change how I respond to somebody else's communication to me, interaction with me, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes.
And that gave me a
Absolutely.
tremendous amount of strength. So I started to learn what's happening in this box up here. What is actually the mind, my mind, based on my life experience, based on my cultural background, based on what I learned so far? What is my belief system? Because not
Yes.
everybody else has the same belief as me. And that doesn't mean that they are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're different. So if we learn this, if we learn how do we, okay, I'm going to use some very cold words here, process information, because that's what we do in our brains, right? How do we process the information? Ourselves first. Then we notice how others do, and then we adapt. Our
Exactly.
flexibility and adaptation becomes incredible, and that gives us a lot of power and strength. It's power and strength without
Exactly.
force, without forcing somebody to adjust to us. We can
Exactly.
enforce our boundaries in a healthy way. We can learn to say no without offending somebody, without going, ballistics on them, without experiencing negative emotions. Without, on the other hand, without dissociating and playing the game and pretending that nothing's wrong. So we can be truthful to ourselves, honest within ourselves,
Hmm.
being who we really are, and yet interacting with others in the most empowering, positive, results producing way, because the results are all that matters.
That's really good story that you have told us, and I think that everybody must have been overwhelmed by listening to it. That we are always complaining about and pointing finger to others, and we are not going anywhere. So what is that thing that will never go away is ourself. So we have to work on ourself. We have to look inside us, and we have to use. There is a lot of power in the words. We need to know how to communicate. Communication is not just to talk, and communication is that what message are you conveying to others, first of all to us. So we are more flexible and more, when we are more flexible, we are building strength within ourselves. That was amazing story, Adriana. That was really, I would say it's life changing. Life changing.
For
When your
me, it surely
perspective is changed,
was.
so life changing. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. So, my next question is that how do you assist a woman in recognizing and challenging limiting beliefs that hold them back from achieving their goals and living their values?
Yes, yes, I do. So how do I do that? So as you know, I teach trainings, but I also do coaching. So
Mm,
if it depends on the needs, if it's in a training, I guide people through the process. As you know, with learning all the language first, and then
hmm.
the values and our internal filters. How do we process the information up here in our minds? And then we begin to learn to discover what is it that limits me? What do I believe that I can or cannot do? What are my beliefs about who I think I am? Not what others tell me that I should be. There's a big difference. Who I really think I am, and what is my truth about me? What do I believe my role is? What do I believe that is true for me in what I'm doing? Am I doing what I feel is right for me? Am I doing what I want to do? Am I being who I want, my true self? So we begin the journey of discovery, and this is a discovery process that we do, as you remember, in the master practitioner during what we call the breakthrough session. By a series of questions, we begin so I guide, when that's what I do, I guide in the training room the students, but also when I do coaching, I guide people through realizing and discovering their limiting beliefs and decisions. And these simply are, imagine, like we have barriers. Now, it's not our fault, by the way. As we
Mm-hmm.
grow up as little kids, we are our mind is completely open, and we absorb from our environment everything that happens there. Now, our parents may have been very well intended. I don't think, I mean, there are pathological cases, of course, but I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about, in general, our parents have best intentions, but they themselves have accumulated a bunch of limitations on themselves. Now, a simple belief: you will never do this or that, because nobody in our
Yes,
family has ever achieved that. That's sufficient for a small child if it accepts this. This is a belief. If it accepts
exactly.
this belief, it will operate. Here is the thing. We have a conscious mind that is our ability to think logically, distinctly, to think critically about things, and this is the part of our mind that's very important. That differentiates us as human beings from the other forms of consciousness on the planet, animals, plants, and whatever, right? But we also have what we call the unconscious mind, which is simply, because people go, oh, there is no such thing, or what is that strange thing called the unconscious mind? Well, it's simply the intelligence of our bodies, the intelligence that we don't have to do anything about it in terms of running our physical bodies. We don't think consciously, okay, I have to beat my heart, this many times per minute, or I don't have to
Exactly.
think consciously about
Yeah.
how to circulate my blood, or I don't even keep my body alive and well while I sleep during the night, because consciously I'm asleep, my conscious mind's asleep. But it's this other part of us, and we call it in our field, we call it the unconscious mind. Now, I'm coming back to where I started, as we're kids, our unconscious minds take everything from our environment as suggestions, and we adopt them, and we form a belief system. Now imagine a little girl, and I had a couple of people in these situations in private coaching, both similar situations. Sister, older, brother, younger. So two children, a girl and a boy. So the girl grows up, then the boy is being born, and all of a sudden the parents' attitude, in words but also non-verbally, showed her all the time that her brother, just by being a boy, was treated differently compared to her. He was expected to be a success in his career. He was expected to be a success in business. He was expected to have high achievements, and not so much her.
Yes.
Now, so she
It's
grew
common.
up. Yeah, it's a very common thing. I know, and it's cross cultural, my friend. It's cross cultural.
Yes. It's yeah.
It's cross cultural. So she grows up now. She accepts all this. And all this becomes a series of beliefs about herself. Now
Yes.
she grows up into an adult, and those beliefs simply represent to her how life is. Now, I got news.
Yes.
These are just beliefs. They are not cast in stone, and they can be changed. And here is what that's why I'm so in love with this field, that I changed so dramatically from being a violinist and moving into this field of NLP and timeline therapy, because
Yeah.
I realized that what I believe now is not necessarily empowering to me, and as I said, it's not cast in stone, so we can change those. Now just imagine for a second how much more empowering, and how for a woman is, how much stronger she becomes when she gives up and lets go of all this burden that she accepted unwillingly. And then we go to school, same thing. Then we are praying with our friends in society. We hear all sorts of things that if we accept them and they're blocking or disempowering us, we begin to form all our life based on those. So what a
Yes.
difference it makes when a woman can let go of this and goes, okay, I'm a woman. That doesn't mean I'm less than. That doesn't mean I'm not. I've been born in a poor family. I've been born in this part of the world. I've been born as this and that. So what? That doesn't make me not good enough. That doesn't make me less than another person. That doesn't mean anything. I am me, and then we start from there on. So that's the first step. We let go of all that blocks us, and the belief system that hasn't give us the life that maybe we want to have, that we desire, that we dream of. And then we learn new strategies. Now, okay, that old stuff, I let it go because it doesn't serve me anymore. Now, what do I do now? And then we learn how to create new strategies, new empowering beliefs. And because you mentioned values, oh, this is a long thing, but then it affects our values because values are not the same for everybody, and they shouldn't be.
Mhm.
And then it affects the way we think. Mind influences our behavior. This is another very important thing that most people don't know. How we, not what we think, but how we think makes our unconscious mind, because I'm coming back to it, our unconscious mind create automatic behaviors. And if what we're doing doesn't work, that we need to change. And this is in a nutshell. I mean, you know very well, the master practitioner, it's a 2-week program, and it's so loaded, but people who go through it, they end up with so many realizations and their behavior changes, and it's extremely empowering. But we need to start. I'm coming back to where we started, both of us, and I have to go back there, Sajida, because it always starts with ourselves. We learn how we think. We learn what our limits us. We learn our beliefs. We let go of our negative emotions, and we end up far more empowered and capable of standing up for our boundaries, for our truth, for what we really desire and we want. And then we indeed can experience love and joy and peace and happiness, and we can create the life that we want. And that's what's all about for me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adriana, as you have shared the story of the um, brother and sister, and then the when the brother was born, and then like parents were like unconsciously uh, taking care more the boy, and the girl must have developed such kind of a belief that she is less, which is common in most of the countries, that the girls are not like, when they grow up, they are not valued that much, or like verbally or non-verbally or unconsciously, because that's the belief. And we as a woman uh, ke- uh, start believing that we are less, and so that we don't progress in our life. Wherever we are sitting, we are just sitting there. But my fellow women friends all over the world, you have listened to Adriana, that you can change your belief, and that can be changed. Absolutely, you are you, and that is your strength. You can always change your beliefs. There are strategies, techniques that can help you to come out of that self belief that you have built already in your core values when you were a child. So let's work on ourselves and come out of that. Thank you so much for sharing that story, Adriana. That's amazing. And as you have mentioned that in Master Practitioner, I also um, I also experienced that. I was thinking I am the same person when I was a student in med school. But when I went through the breakthrough, and after so many hours, like, I think so, it took 2 days. And then I found out I'm not the same person because I I lost my all that when I believe. And then, when I did the breakthrough, fog was all gone and it was all clear path for me when I was doing master practitioner with you.
Did that
So
happen
thank
when
you.
you went through the value section?
Yeah, value sections, and I came to know which values, like where I am, and how I can, like, upgrade myself in the value. Suppose, like, I was always doing corporate work, right? I worked for 23 years in the with the Toronto Dominion Bank for 25 years. And then it was difficult for me to come to that. And still, like, I have done all that. My background is a medical background, but still, like, but with after studying all that values and everything, I came to know what is, what is not letting, what is there that's not letting me to be in business fully. Actually, I was the business minded girl from the very beginning when I was in med school. But like at the time when I started working with the bank, my mind was holy solely corporate world, like working with the company. So it was a comfort zone as well I was sitting in, right? That was a secondary gain as well. When you are in the business, is when I went through the values, when you did the evaluation and everything in the master prac, then I came to know, oh, that's the thing that's preventing me to be like a successful businesswoman or come so wholly solely to the business.
I think just briefly, since you and I know what we're talking about, but I think we should mention just a little bit for your audience, because we keep talking about values, and the prevailing
Yeah.
belief in society is that there is such thing as the right values and the wrong values. And as we begin to understand in the way, I teach this, yes, we have common values that are in society because we need to respect certain values in order to have an orderly, peaceful, thriving society. When the values of society break down and the agreement at the values is broken, then we start having problems, and we experience a lot of problems around the world nowadays with this.
Yeah.
So then let's briefly just say that everybody has values, and not everybody's values are the same with everybody else's. If they
Yeah.
were the same, we would all be already AI. And we're not.
Mm.
We're human beings, right?
We are human
So,
beings.
right, we're not machines. And as long and that's our beauty, by the way. That's the beauty of being different and being creative in our own ways. And
Mm.
being, to me, this ability to interact with different people is fantastic. But let's come back to values. Now, we know that their values and belief systems are could be also defined as ways of thinking. They depend on the environment in which we live, but also they depend on our personal history, the beliefs that we just discussed a moment ago, the beliefs that we accept and then we form in life, because the beliefs are all connected to our values. But values,
Exactly.
you may have different values from me, I may have different values from my friend over there, and yet, as I said, we have common values in society. Now, that being said, our individual values are different.
Hmm.
There are very deep implications with this one. First of all, we all have goals. We all have things that we desire to achieve in life. When our values are not supporting our goals, goals become a struggle. So that's number one,
Mm.
very practical. So if I want to achieve something, but my core values don't support that which I want, then it's going to be really hard for me to even move toward what I want to achieve. And then here is the loop that people get into. I want that, I'm frustrated that I'm not getting it, and I cannot get it, and I don't know what to do, and I'm stuck, and it's this loop. And at the same time, the desire is there to get something done, to move toward that which I want. Now,
Hmm.
so I said that there are different values in society. We all think differently, but all of those can be organized in, so far we know, 7 ways of thinking, none of which is better than the other. They're just different and depend on the environment in which we live. So some people are very much prone to being, for instance, employed, having a stable employment, and they will stay in the same job for a long time because it provides security, it provides a check that comes regularly, it
Yeah.
provides, paying the mortgage, paying for the kids' school, paying for the car, etc., etc. And they prefer that. And these are people that usually are employed in governmental jobs or even in corporations. But in corporations, long-term jobs like this, kind of are not so much, not for such a long duration. There are other people that say, God, for me to work for somebody else from 9 to 5, it's like
Hmm.
compensatory. I would never do that. I would like to do something, build something on my own. I would like to be independent. So these are the minds of entrepreneurs. Sure, there are combinations, we have intrapreneurs, that people that work in corporations, but they're given projects and things they can create and be in charge of on their own. That's also possible. I gave you just the example of two different ways of thinking. As I said, there are seven per dollar. And by understanding how people think, again, not what they think, but how they think in these different ways. Imagine, and you went through it. Imagine I'm talking to a customer in business. I'm talking to a customer, and they say to me, blah, 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 blah. Let's take an example. What's the point in, you have to fight all the time because there is this world of dog eat dog, and only the strongest and the most powerful one, can ever succeed. That it's a terrible world out there. It's just a fight all the time. And in your mind, you go, that's interesting, because I don't think you're right. I don't think the world is like this. Because in your world, your personal experience of life, things are not like this. And in general, because we misunderstand, and this is, by the way, an example of different values. That person that just said those words, it has different values than yours. Now, does that mean that they are wrong? No, they are different. Now, who has the real power? Yeah, let's talk about this. Who has the real power? If I know and I understand where they're coming from, if I understand what drives them, if I understand their motivation, which is based on their values, I can communicate with them. I can have a happy customer, maybe a return customer, a person that's happy with me. Now, did they change? Not necessarily.
No.
I have the flexibility and the understanding how their values drive them, so I can interact with them according to them. That gives me a tremendous amount of control over my results in life, isn't it?
Yes.
And that comes from family members. I had a situation where my values, the way I think, again, how I think, not what I think, clashed with my father's. Now, people will say, oh, he's an old generation, it's the generation gap, and it's this and that and the other, right? Well, there's always been generational gaps. Generations change all the time. Kids are not the same as the parents. That's called progress. But then I had to, and when I was younger, I used to have fights with my father, because he wanted me to act the way he wanted, and I wanted to act the way I wanted. I wanted to live my life the way I wanted, right? So we used to have arguments. And as I grew up and I started learning this, I started looking at my father with completely different eyes and understanding really where he's coming from a different point of view. And so I changed the way I interacted with him. And you know what? My father became a great, great man. We never fought again. We never had arguments again. And I realized that simply this is how he thinks. This is how he thinks. And knowing how he thinks, I could approach him according to how he thought and his belief system and everything. And then all the problems stopped, bothering me, because they weren't there anymore. Now, did I change him? No. I changed myself, and I gave myself the ability to understand people that are interacting with me at a completely different level. Now, that gives you, listen, problems are always in life. We always encounter problems. That's called life, right? That's a thing that everybody encounters. The question is, how do you build that resilience and the ability to really understand other people? Not only that gives you a tremendous control over your life, your experience, how you react, but also it gives you a tremendous amount of resilience, because you don't feel beaten up. You don't feel not good enough. You don't feel sad or depressed or guilty or hurt or emotional pain, or you don't feel any of that because there is no need for it. You're not pretending. You're not
Yes,
dissociated. You're not becoming a robot. You simply understand the other person, and then it doesn't affect you the way it used to. And so, to me, that's real empowerment, if you ask me.
that's
All that
really
ability,
good.
that gives you really strength, real strength. But you have to learn certain things. You have to learn. See, I learned the practitioner and the master practitioner. And honest to God, this is not a pitch of anything. My life has completely changed. And if you look at the trainers that I teach, and you know many of them,
Yeah,
the master trainers, they all tell the same story because it is life transforming. You want power. You won't get the power by just demanding others give it to you. You reach out and take the power that you gave out by your not knowing more. And that's not to beat yourself up. None of us knows until we learn. None of us knows anything. What do we know? When we're born, we are not giving a manual for our mind. Okay, here is how your mind works. No,
exactly.
it doesn't work that way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But then we're willing to learn, we're willing to invest in ourselves, we're willing to put some work in, but that gives us the ability to take that power back. And then, as you say, we're able to enforce our boundaries without drama, without the load of negative emotions, without feeling bad for being different, without feeling less than. Yes, you can, less she, yes. I love the theme of all your channel, yes. Yes, we all can. The question is, are
that's.
we willing to?
Are we willing to? Yeah, thank you so much for telling everyone, all the women around, that they can do it. Absolutely. If we are taking our power back, reach out and take the power back. That's real mission, and I would say knowledge and study that timeline therapy, uh, linguistics, neurolinguistic programming, and other sciences that communicate with it. We can always bring all those tools, uh, equip ourselves with it, and invest in ourselves. And it's more like, according to you, as you said, that power is within us. We only have to think in that way, that we cannot change others, we can change our perspective.
I don't mean to interrupt you, and I'm sorry for that, but you said powers within us. Now, this is not new. I'm not the first one to
Mm,
say this. Many people study the ancient teachings. Many people belong to religions, especially in the East. You know, that
exactly.
there is a lot of tradition that says the same thing in different words.
Hmm.
Just the way of saying it may be different, but the message is
Yes.
the same.
Yeah.
The message is absolutely, we're saying it in modern words. Okay, the powers within you, you find your strategies, your values, your belief systems, and these are modern terms, right? But the idea is you turn within. You
Yeah.
turn within. What is a deep introspection, which is a deep meditation, which is one of the ancient practices? What
Exactly.
is it leading to? Is discovering you.
Discovering
So
ourselves.
it's just the modern way, and something that I loved, because that's what again led me to teach this, and I hope you had the same experience, Sajida, is the fact that in this field, NLP, timeline therapy, and also part of hypnosis, which teaches us, to work directly with the unconscious mind, it gives us the how to. We knew what we had to do from ancient times. It's part of the
Hmm.
practices. But we have now a very, very clear thing. This is what you do first, this next, this next, this next. And at the end of the process, that thing you want to change is changed. So the speed with which we change things has increased. And
Hmm.
the steps to make it easy for us, easier for us, let's be correct, speaking of language, easier for us to make that change that we desire. Again, I found totally into these three fields, and I wouldn't do anything else.
So, as you said, Adriana, that mindfulness, as you mentioned, hypnosis as well, that is to connect with our subconscious and within ourselves. As in ancient times, meditation, it was always there, but like speed with which we can change and we can be more connected to ourselves is increased. Because there are a lot more, researches have been done, and uh, we can do it, absolutely. And it's very important that we have to be connected with ourselves, then we can better connect with other people around. I hope the
Yeah.
women around who are listening to you, they are getting a lot of knowledge from here, because you are giving step by step everything to them, keys to their happiness that is lying inside us, and we can do it. Yes, we can. So
Yeah.
my next question is that how does timeline therapy incorporate manifestation like self-care practices to support women's emotional and mental well-being? Can you give any example of timeline in this perspective?
So timeline therapy. So timeline therapy, for those that don't know exactly, is simply a series of techniques that in an easy and in an effortless way allow people to let go of negative emotions from the past, as what anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, and all other negative emotions, and also of beliefs and limiting decisions like I'm not good enough, I can't have a great relationship, I can't make money, and so on and so forth. These are all things that timeline therapy can assist with. Now, you said something important. How do we, so first of all, how does timeline therapy do this? And I just defined it for your audience. Now, if I am, again, let me preface by saying mind and body are interconnected. We have a lot of discoveries now in terms of neurology or neurological connections in the body. And
Hmm.
the neurophysics, comes back, and it's not even new. And the field really grew up starting that's 1950s, so that's about 70 years ago. So there is a lot of studies and a lot of progress being done in this field. But here is the interesting thing. The way we go round and round and we reach the same conclusion that mind and body are interconnected. The way we approach the fact that body being a separate thing, just a bunch of chemicals and electrical impulses running through the neurons, and then the chemicals in between the dendrites in the neurons change, and that's why we feel depressed, because you said an
Yeah.
example. Yeah. So it's a lack of a certain neurotransmitter that creates this. Now, is that true in the tests? Yes, absolutely. But we're coming a little bit to that, what's the first, the chicken or the egg? Because when we do timeline therapy, and now I'm not a medical doctor, as you know, this is not offered as a medical advice.
Yeah.
So if you have a problem, a mental problem, please go and check your licensed practitioner for that problem. This is my experience, and it's presented as information, because in my experience, if people who suffer, for instance, of sadness and depression, which is quite an issue in the world,
Hmm.
affecting a lot of women, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
we do timeline therapy, we let go of sadness, we let go of depression, we assist the person with changing some strategies and another part of the belief set, and all of a sudden the depression is not there, and when the tests are done, everything seems normalizes. So is depression, the emotion itself, the root cause of the imbalance, or is the imbalance leading to depression?
Imbalance.
And from our perspective in our field, the traditional medicine will say, yes, it's the chemicals, therefore we replace that and you get rid of depression. But in our field, we take it the other way around, because we
Mhm.
notice that when doing timeline therapy and really letting go of sadness and depression, people normalize, the imbalance as well. So I'd say, and I say this is invaluable, because what is worth to a person that they've been plagued? This is just one example, my friend, because you said to me, give me an example. This is one
Yep.
example. What's it worth to a person whose life has been plagued by depression? The whole
Mm.
immune system's depressed. The whole experience of life, the way you interact with people, the way you interact if you have children, the way you interact with coworkers, you're always depressed. Your
Yeah.
energy is low. Maybe you don't sleep well.
Yes.
You have lost the joy of life, of living. You
Mhm.
cannot experience that as long as you're depressed. And then what's it worth to somebody to change all that and depression disappears? It's like a brand new person being born.
I
And
agree.
this is, I've seen this more times that I care to notice, and I'm sure you have, noticed that in yourself maybe, or in, I don't know, I'll say maybe, but surely in the people that they were in the training when you were there. And
Yeah, it was in
not
trainers training.
a,
Oh
it's
my
not a
God.
popular way of looking at the things, but we should kind of be aware of what's business and the business intentions versus what works, and it's effective and healthy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adriana. Adriana has talked about this is very common issue within our women a lot, that depression and anxiety. Sometimes it's a post partum or something like that, but we usually think that this is not really medically. It has been proven that there are some chemical changes, but according to, as Adriana talked about it, that according to the applied psychology, the mind, which is the driver of our body is the carrier, that mind is the key factor. Like if we have such kind of past memories or belief systems that are creating change in the chemistry of the body, if we work on that, as Adriana mentioned, that if we work on that, it can change the person totally. Um, as she has had in the past, a lot of your clients as well, um, who are cured or he has been taken care of the depression and anxiety. It's a miraculous science that a person will feel quite different, a new person. So rather than taking medications, we can always try that way as well. And let's look into it. If we can see some therapist who can, like Adriana or anyone else, if you look into our women, like they are having a lot of, I have a lot of um, women that I met with, they are having one or the other way depression or anxiety, although they have everything in their life. Even then, like there is something missing. So absolutely, there is something in our timeline or in our memories, or it's sitting at subconscious level that we don't even know. So I absolutely agree with you, Adriana. So my question is, what technique do you use to help women overcome fears and doubts that hold them back from, pursuing their goals? Like a lot of women are just stuck somewhere.
We are in the midst of a phenomenal change happening all around the world, and
Mm,
we're coming back to values. As a society, we are shifting through different ways of thinking. The old type of society and cultural values that we used to have, they are
yeah.
gone. And by the way, they're not coming back. So
Mm,
if we're stuck in the old ways of thinking, we're going to be left behind.
mm.
We're going to be left behind. The
Left behind.
technology progresses with such a speed nowadays. It's like we are struggling to catch up with it.
Yeah.
I was just going to mention one thing, the utilization of AI. And believe it or not, my friend, there are people around the world who still think, oh, I'm never going to do that.
Yeah.
That
It's
it's
scary.
like it's almost scary, yeah, because we are all going to do that. It's inevitable. This is where the whole world is going. So
Yes.
the question is that how do we adapt? Well, again, we're coming round and round in circle to the same
Yeah.
thing.
Mind.
It's
Yeah.
yes, how do we adapt? And we start adapting from here. If we're stuck in the past, we keep looking toward the past. Oh no, and this is how we've always done it, and this is how it's that's gone. And I tell you, the threshold and the moment of change, I mean, the technology develops for a while now. We think of it 15 years ago, we didn't even have social media.
Yes.
And now it's just the normal way of people communicating.
Every
It's
day.
like
Yeah.
inconceivable nowadays not to have social media, not to be able to talk to anybody you so choose, no matter where in the world, right? So this stuff happens whether we like it or not. So we better acknowledge it and then adapt and change ourselves in order to, because here is the thing. I don't want to sound bad or discouraging, but there'll be winners and there'll be losers in this
Exactly.
transitional change. And it's a massive transitional change.
Massive.
The massive transition,
Yeah.
and there'll be people that will adapt, they recognize the change, and they embrace it, they use it wisely. This is another thing, yeah.
Wisely. Yeah.
In terms of, yeah, we can use
Hmm.
AI for total centralization, or we can use AI for empowering ourselves and creating a decentralized system that it's phenomenal in terms of human liberty, human freedom, human choice, human development, human empowerment, you name it. Yeah. So
Exactly.
some people say we shouldn't use AI, we should throw away all our computers. We can't. It's
Hmm.
impossible. The world is not tribal anymore.
Exactly.
We don't live, I mean, I love nature, don't get me wrong. I'm a
No,
nature
no, I
lover.
understand. I understand.
I love to walk in the forest. I love to walk on the grass. I appreciate a beautiful flower. I'm looking at the tree
Hmm.
and I see the whole life that creates that tree.
Hmm.
I love nature, and it's not an or. I also love technology. I see its
Hmm.
uses. I see the creativity of the human mind that brought us here. Now the question is, how do
Mm.
we use technology? Do we use it
Exactly.
wisely? Yeah.
Hmm.
And but in order to even get here, we need to first accept
Accept.
that
Yeah.
this transition is happening.
Yeah. It's all mind. Again, it's mind, right?
There you go.
So we have to change our thoughts, and now I will say it was a great discussion, Adriana. I will love to be with you. We can pick a topic. Our women who are listening to us, they can post questions for us, and we will be keep on doing this. Um, on the demand of the women who want to pursue in their life, who want to take care of their negative beliefs that are holding them back and they're not progressing. As look, Adriana, she is on my channel today. Her journey uh, from a little girl who was a violinist and she was the top performer, and then now she is where like she's the most accomplished woman, wrote books, got awards. You can also do it. Yes, you can. So, Adriana, I would say that one piece of advice for a struggling woman.
The first thing that comes to mind, and I don't know if this is the best piece of advice, but the first thing that comes to mind is don't ever give up on yourself. Learn new
Yeah.
things, because indeed, if other women have done it, you can do it too. Don't ever give up on yourself. Learn new things and learn to step into your own real power. You have it. You have it. You have it now. You have to believe that.
Thank you so much, Adriana. From my channel, She Made It Happen. One of the best example is Adriana James. She's here. I absolutely gave all the story, and she also talked about herself in all this session. And her message is don't ever give up. everything is within you, power is within you. She is the best example of that, and there are a lot of women around as well. So we will be keep on coming and uh, discussing all those best topics, because our women are suffering a lot around the world. You do have all that strength and power within you. Let's do it. And yes, we can. All the way from Australia. And Adriana, you are at the moment, you always travel different places.
I
So
travel all over places now, and right
yeah,
now I'm in South Africa.
South Africa. She travel a lot. Sydney, she has offices, Sydney, USA, and I also meet her in Sydney most of the times when I go for her trainings. So thank you so much, Adriana. I'm so much overwhelmed that you are here. You shared your experiences with us. You gave time. It is really, really helpful for women around. We want to strengthen the women.
It is my absolute pleasure, and if I can plug in my website, if anybody wants to connect with me, my website is nlpcoaching.com. And also you can find me on social media, and I'm present there, so please come and join me, ask me questions if you want. I'm very grateful to Sajida. I am very grateful for your work, my friend, and for setting up an example and doing something. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.